Okay, so today we're diving into Bolt.new.
Bolt.new.
It's this AI-powered platform, and it's getting a lot of attention because it lets you build apps,
Yeah.
like right in your browser, like web apps and mobile apps.
Yeah, full stack app.
Full stack in your browser.
Pretty wild.
Um, and we've been looking at, some analysis of it, and we want to understand, like, how does it actually work? What's the potential here? And what does it all mean for, like if you want to get an app idea off the ground, like how can this help you do that quickly and efficiently?
Yeah, I think the big question is like, everyone wants to build an app and ship it as quickly as possible.
Right.
And so how does Bolt help with that? What are the implications for, just kind of like getting that knowledge and putting it to use as quickly as possible?
Yeah. Yeah. And they've had some impressive early, traction. They went from like $4 million to $40 million in ARR.
Wow.
Like really quickly.
That's huge.
Yeah. So it seems like there's a lot of people using it. There's a lot of interest. And some people are even saying, it could reduce development costs and time by like 99%.
Wow. That's almost getting rid of it completely.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. So let's like break this down. Okay, so Bolt.new it's designed to be this really accessible platform, right? Like AI native. So you describe your app in plain English.
Right.
And the AI is supposed to like make it happen, poof. Yeah, like create it, run it, you can edit it, even deploy it.
It's like magic.
It's kind of like magic, and it's, it's part of this whole no-code, low-code movement that's been going on. But what's really interesting, I think, is that it's built by the same people who created StackBlitz.
Oh.
StackBlitz, those in-browser development environments. So it's kind of like they're taking that concept and they're adding like this AI layer on top of it.
Interesting.
And someone even described it as like cursor for non-developers. So it's like, you don't have to know how to code to use this thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, the people that get left out of building these cool things are the ones that don't have those coding skills. So this really opens it up for a lot of people.
Yeah, totally. And the engine that makes it all work is this thing called WebContainers.
Okay.
And this is made by StackBlitz. And it's basically a way to run like an entire development environment right in your browser.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Yeah, like even Node.js servers and stuff.
So I don't have to have anything installed on my computer.
Nope, you don't need anything. It all runs in the browser. And they say this makes like startup times super fast, like milliseconds.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And you can even work offline, and then debugging is like just refreshing the page. It's like so simple.
That makes debugging a lot less scary.
Right. And it uses this thing called WebAssembly, which helps the code run really efficiently in the browser, almost like it's a native app.
Yeah.
And this is what gives Bolt that like really fast, instantaneous kind of feel.
Yeah, so much of development time is taken up by, waiting for things to compile or waiting for things to load.
Yeah.
So if we can eliminate that, then...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of big tech companies, they already use this web containers technology like Google and Cloudflare and Uber. So it's pretty well vetted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then you can even collaborate with other people in real time using like shareable links. And then you can deploy your app directly through services like Netlify or Vercel.
So it's like everything is just like super smooth and easy.
Right. It's like the whole process from start to finish is really streamlined. But there is one caveat. Web containers is proprietary.
Okay.
And there have been some, reports of issues. So it's not like a perfect solution, but it's definitely like a really innovative approach.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So now powering all of this is this AI engine, and specifically it's Anthropic's Claude 3.5 Sonnet.
Okay.
Have you heard of that one?
I have heard of Anthropic. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty powerful language model, and
Yeah.
basically it takes your, natural language prompts and it turns them into code, like the actual code for your app.
And this isn't just like suggesting code snippets or anything like that?
No, like it has control over the whole development environment, like the file system, the server, the terminal, the browser console. Like the AI is really running the show here.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Right. It's managing the entire application lifecycle, and they even have this like enhanced prompt feature where you can kind of like refine your requests and get better results from the AI.
So it's like having a super smart developer like right there with you.
Yeah, basically like an AI pair programmer. But, there are some things to watch out for. So the analysis that we looked at it mentioned that some users were getting like overly complex solutions from the AI.
Okay.
Or they were having trouble like maintaining context in larger projects. So it seems like you really have to be clear and specific with your prompts to get good results.
So it's not quite at the point where you can just like, tell it to build you Facebook.
Right, exactly. You have to be very precise with what you're asking for.
Okay.
And then the other thing is that the platform uses a token-based pricing system. So there's a free tier where you get a certain number of tokens, but if you want to use it more extensively, you have to pay for a subscription.
Okay, and what are these tokens used for?
So the tokens are basically like the fuel that powers Bolt.new. So every time you generate code, deploy something, or even edit your app,
You use up tokens?
you use up tokens, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you're paying for the AI's time and effort.
Okay, so this could be a consideration if you're doing a lot of like iterative development, or if the AI has to like rework a lot of code because you weren't clear enough in your prompts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could end up spending a lot of tokens, and that can get expensive.
All right, so let's move on to some of the like key features of Bolt. What are some things that really stand out?
Yeah, so the main thing obviously is this prompt-based generation, right? So you describe your app, you can even say like what frameworks you want to use, and then Bolt starts building it for you, and you get this like real-time execution and a live preview in your browser.
That's cool, so you can see it as it's being built.
Yeah, and you can make changes and see those changes reflected instantly. So it's really good for like quick iteration and feedback.
Okay, so it's very interactive.
Very interactive. Yeah, and then the other big thing is that it's a fully integrated development environment right in your browser, like we were talking about before, thanks to those web containers.
Right.
So you can install NPM packages, run your servers, interact with APIs, and then deploy to Netlify, like all from the same interface.
Wow, so it's like a one-stop shop for building and launching your app.
Exactly. Yeah, and then they've also added a ton of integrations with other services.
Oh, like what?
So you can do things like convert Figma designs into a working app.
Whoa.
You can build mobile apps with Expo without reading any native code.
Okay.
You can use Supabase for your backend database and authentication SendGrid for email Google Analytics. Like, they've really thought of everything.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a really comprehensive toolkit. And then, so the question is like, who is this actually for? Who should be using Bolt?
Right.
And the analysis that we looked at, it kind of pointed to two main groups. So the first group is like non-technical users. So people like entrepreneurs, product managers.
Yeah.
Maybe they have an idea for an app, but they don't know how to code.
Yeah.
This is perfect for them because it really lowers the barrier to entry. You know, you don't need to learn how to code to build an app anymore.
That's cool. So it really opens up the possibility of creating things to like a much wider audience.
Exactly, yeah. And then the other group is developers. So for developers, Bolt can be really useful for like rapid prototyping, experimenting with new ideas, and just like getting the basic structure of an app up and running quickly.
Right, because, as a developer, like a lot of time is wasted just like setting things up and configuring everything.
Right.
So if you can automate that and get to the fun part quicker,
Exactly.
yeah, that's a big win.
Yeah, and we saw examples of like, a website called Couples Hub that was built in 3 days. And then like functional e-commerce product pages with filtering and sorting and pagination and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's not just like toy apps, it's like real things.
Right. It can handle real world use cases. And then, so we looked at some of the user feedback, and it seems like people are really impressed with the ease of use and the speed of development.
Okay.
Like everyone's talking about how easy it is to use and how quickly you can build things. They also like the no code generation aspect of it and how seamlessly it integrates with all these other services.
Right.
But there are also some challenges that people have mentioned. So one thing is that token consumption can be a problem, like we talked about before.
Right.
If you're not careful, you can burn through your tokens really quickly.
And end up paying a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes the AI generates code that's like overly complex or difficult to understand.
Okay.
And there have also been some reports of like UX layout issues or performance problems, particularly with more complex apps.
I see. So it's like it's really good for getting started and building like simpler apps. But if you're trying to do something really complex, it might not be the best tool for the job yet.
Yeah, it's still early days, I think, for this technology.
Yeah.
But it seems like the natural language interface is pretty intuitive, like even for non-coders.
Okay.
But if you want to get the most out of it and like really do iterative development, you probably have to learn how to prompt effectively.
Right. Like what are the best ways to phrase your requests?
Exactly. Yeah. And then performance seems to be good for like simpler apps. But again, if you're doing something really complex, you might need to do some optimization.
Okay.
And then another challenge is that like debugging AI generated code can be tricky.
Yeah, because it's not always clear like why the AI made the decisions it made.
Right, and then managing large projects that are built this way could also be a challenge.
Okay, so how does Bolt compare to some of the other tools out there? Like, are there other AI-powered development tools?
Yeah, so there are other tools out there like GitHub Copilot and Cursor, but those are more geared towards developers.
Oh.
Bolt is different because it's really trying to target both technical and non-technical users, and it's got that full stack in browser approach
Yeah,
that's powered by natural language. So it's like a really unique combination of features. And it's also different from traditional no-code platforms because those usually rely on like visual drag and drop interfaces.
right, like squares and arrows and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. And Bolt is much more conversational.
Okay,
So I think the key strengths are like it's AI native, it's full stack in browser, it works for both technical and non-technical users, and it's really fast and accessible thanks to those web containers.
right.
So it's kind of like democratizing app development. Anyone can build an app now.
Yeah, that's a really cool vision.
Yeah. So what's next for Bolt? What do you think they're going to do in the future?
Well, they've recently launched integrations with Figma and Expo, and they've also released a Chrome extension.
Okay.
So it seems like they're really focused on expanding the platform's capabilities and making it more accessible to a wider range of users.
Right.
And I think based on the user feedback, we can probably expect to see some improvements in terms of like managing token consumption and handling the complexity of larger projects.
Yeah, it seems like they're really listening to their users and trying to address those pain points.
Right.
And then in the long term, I think AI is going to have a huge impact on web development. Like we're already seeing that.
Yeah. It's changing everything.
And it's only going to get more powerful and more pervasive. So I think we can expect to see more automation, more people being able to create apps, and just like a faster pace of digital transformation overall.
Yeah. It's exciting times to be in tech, that's for sure.
So Bolt.new, it's definitely a really interesting platform, and it gives us a glimpse into the future of app development.
And it's not just about the technology itself, but it's also about like what it enables people to do.
Right.
It's about empowering people to create things that they never thought possible before.
Yeah, like the idea that you can just describe an app and then it like appears in your browser. That's
Mhm.
really powerful.
Yeah. And it's especially powerful for someone like you who's, always eager to learn new things and try new technologies.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so the key takeaway, I think, is that this technology is still evolving, but it has the potential to really change the way we build software.
Right. And it's important to understand like the nuances of it,
Right.
like the token usage and the limitations for complex projects.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can set realistic expectations.
So the question for you is like, what kind of projects could you build with this kind of power at your fingertips?
Right. What problems could you solve or what ideas could you explore?
Exactly. And hopefully this deep dive has given you a better understanding of what Bolt.new is all about and how it might fit into your own work.
Right. And I think it also raises some interesting questions about like the future of software development
Right.
and your own potential to create with technology.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? Let us know. And thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
All right. See you next time.
See you.